Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Gali, for the amazing energy that you brought to the stage. Now I have to be that energetic. Thank you. And before lunch. Okay, so today I'm doing something that is quite different to what I usually do. So you are my experimental audience, so be kind to me. I named my very short lecture is Dare to Be Me because I wanted to share my personal journey to space. What happened to me, how did I turn up to become a space entrepreneur? Okay, so who am I? That was a question that I thought that I knew how to answer a few years back. I was a TV reporter and a journalist. I worked with Italia on Channel 10. I was a human rights defender. I mean, was and am, because you never leave those kind of things. I was a board member at Art for Amnesty, meaning that I worked with famous artists like U2 and Yoko Ono, and it was fantastic. I even stood on stage with Bono. That was fantastic. I was a social entrepreneur. I am the founder of Novel Rights, which is a human rights literature e-publishing. And I worked globally, so I made some very cool events in all kind of universities, like Oxford University and LSE, and Galloway in Ireland, and many other countries. I'm the founder of Women's Media Center Israel, which was the first hub for gender equality and social justice. I founded the first digital database of women experts. I'm the co-founder of the Chamber of Women Journalists. We've been chosen to number 5 out of 100 most influential people in Israeli media in 2014, and it's something that I'm very, very proud of. I'm the co-founder of the steering committee for the Israeli National Action Plan for UN Resolution 1325. I'm a publicist, speaker, producer, publisher, and a mentor, okay? That was who I was. But now I'm something different. I'm all of the above, but I'm also space entrepreneur. So I'm the founder of Out of the Box, which is my favorite baby. And as you see, as you know, I had many favorite babies in the past. So what is Out of the Box? Out of the Box is a social enterprise for entrepreneurship and innovation in aerospace education. I'm working with schools and high schools students to give them the tools and the knowledge how to cope with their future working market, and with a special focus on space and aviation, and I will explain afterward why. I'm working with the Israeli Space Agency. I'm working with NASA Ames Research Center, together very closely with the chief scientist. I'm a mentor at Space for Women, the United Nations Outer Space Space Affair, and I'm also been selected very recently to 1,000 space tech leaders by Space Tech Analytics. I'm a member at Women in Aviation. I also pursue my first gliding license. I'm a mentor at Starbus. Starbus is the aerospace accelerator, and I'm the first female over there. And I recently selected to one of the 80 faces of the IVLP. It's an exchange delegation program. And together with amazing people like Anwar Sadat and Margaret Thatcher and more. So I'm a good company. So what happened to me? And I called it the illumination period. Something happened to me, and it was during 2016. As I said, I've been sent to a journey of 4 weeks in the United States. I've been in 5 different states in that journey, and to be honest, it was the first time that I was away from my family, away from my home, away from everything, and it was the first time after a long period in which I could be me. I was not a mother, I was not a wife, I was not anything. I was just Vered, and that was fantastic. It was such a liberating. What happened to me more is that I had time to think. because I was in a crossroad. I was many things, as I mentioned before, but I felt that it wasn't mine. It was someone else's shoes. It was someone else's dream. It was someone else's passion, and I wanted to find my passion. When I came back from this amazing journey, I realized that I want to do some change, and the change needs to start with education. Why? Because I was also a mentor at 8200 Impact, which is the intelligent social accelerator. And I worked with women, and I realized that women are struggling, and they have something in common. And I wanted to solve those issues. Also, I appears in committees at the Knesset, and I worked with high-level people, but I realized that I'm not changing anything. And if I want to change something and to make a very deep change, I need to start from the bottom, and the starting point will be schools, the time in which we are starting to lose the women in the working market, and etc. Something more happened to me in 2019. I was already working with NASA, Ames Research Center, but then I took a group of young students to visit NASA. It was when they said, if you want to come, you are invited. And I said, okay, I'm coming. I booked a flight, and I took a H student with me. And when we were there, I felt that this is my place. For the first time in my life, I worked at NASA, and I thought that space belonged to me. And something else happened to me in 2019. I had two friends, two American friends, teachers, and they were glider pilots. And they said, you know what? Maybe you should come with us to try a glider. Glider is like an airplane without an engine. And I said, me? Are you serious? And they said, yes. Okay. I followed them. Here I am on the glider. And Mark, the teacher, is like on the ground, still on the ground. And I'm like, Mark, I'm scared. And he said, okay, to be scared is a very important quality for a pilot. And I said, okay, what if something happened? And he said, okay, nothing will happen. I'm sure you will cope with it. Okay, so here we are on the air, and Mark is saying at some point, okay, now you hold the stick, and I'm like going to rest. You are taking the stick, and you are flying the airplane. And I said, okay, and I did it. And it was wonderful. I felt so happy and liberated out there in the sky. That was an amazing feeling. But something happened to me when I came home, but I want to share with you something else. So why aerospace? You probably ask yourself now. Because we are going to be rich if we will work in aerospace. The estimation is that until 2040, the revenue of the space industry will be $1.1 trillion, okay? The new space race, that's exciting. One of the things that really excited me in space is the fact that entrepreneurs came in. They are part of the game. This is not just the government, white male government that work in the industry anymore. We have Jeff Bezos over there with Blue Origin. We have Elon Musk with SpaceX, Sir Richard Branson with Virgin Galactic. The first colony on Mars, of course, Raut will live there, I imagine. We know that we want to occupy Mars, we want to start with the moon and then go on to other planets, which is also the, second, the second solution of the humanity if something happened here one day. And Artemis mission will bring in 2-3 years the first woman to walk on the moon. That's really exciting. And space belongs to all of us. Now space is also belong to artists and architecture and students and teachers and everyone. Space is ours, okay? And that's very, very important. Okay, ours, but we are women. Where are the women in space? Let's see. Only around 30% of the women are studying STEM. Women represent 35% of all students enrolled in STEM-related higher education. Only 9%, and Gali talked about being a woman entrepreneur, only 9% are entrepreneurs. Only between 1 to 11% are female pilots, commercial female pilots. Women represent between 20 to 22, it depends on how high level you are, of the space industry workforce. Over 560 people have traveled to space, but only 11% are women. The most important fact is that 90% of the future job will require STEAM-related skills. What does it mean that if we have only 30% of the women, we have here the tax people, we are very good in math, so let's calculate this. If we have only 30% of the women in STEM, but 90% of the job will require STEM, what does it mean? That we are going to be very poor in the nearest future, and we will not be part of the decision makers, and that is very, very bad, because that will drag many other very bad things that happen to women, and the history has this habit to return itself. But I will explain about it later on. So thinking about myself while there on the glider, I thought, what happened to me? When I was a child, this is a real actual photo of me, behind the wheel, very, confident, I had big dreams. I was a gifted child. I learned how to read and write when I was only 4. I really liked mathematics. I really liked engineering. I liked electronics. My hobby was to break all the electronic devices that we have in the house and start to see how they work. So this is how I learned electricity and electronics, because I was very curious, and also watches and everything. And I wanted to become a pilot, and I wanted to become an astronaut, and at some point, everything was vanished. It's not that space wasn't part of my life, it was. I married an astrophysics. He wasn't an astrophysics when I met him. I just pushed him to be an astrophysics. I pushed him to buy a telescope. I pushed him to buy the books. And we had wonderful life together. He was the space, and I was the, planet in his space world. So what I asked myself at some point is, when do our desires start to change, and what? What happened to me along the way that I neglected all of this and went to become a journalist and entrepreneur? So those are the facts that I brought from the UN Women. By the age of 6, listen to this, because that was really outrageous. Girls already consider boys more likely to show brilliance and more suited to really, really smart activities than their own gender. 6! Yeah, that's shocking. Young girls become interested in so-called STEM subjects around the age of 11, but they quickly lose interest when they are 15. 15 is the exact age when we are starting to lose them, okay? And 15 is my target age when I want to recruit them now. Because if I want to change the reality, I have to start from the place when the reality starts to change. I don't have too much time, but there is a frame named the leaky pipeline. It's the leaky pipeline. It's when we are starting to lose women. Since the age of 15, adolescence, childhood, adolescence, then they are becoming mothers, and there are many reasons why. Maybe I can start talking about a few. Okay. One of the reasons is that, and PISA's test already discovered that boys are more selecting their teams of subjects according to a career that they are already in from very early age. They are starting to think about their career, and are starting to think about how much money they will do in their career. Girls don't do that. Girls tend to select the subject that they want to learn according to their passion, according to their friends, according to also stereotypes. One of the fact that STEM is, I don't know if you know that, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, so they select those stuff, or girls are not there because they think it's a guy thing. And in many cases they are, because if the women are not there, so a woman that, or a girl that want to be part of it, she will most likely will be the first, the second, or the third around the table, and that's it. So she's very lonely out there. We don't have too many female models, even though Gali showed them wonderful models. We don't, and women are minority, as I said. In professional life, most of the important stuff is that we know that women are, they're carrying on their houses and their obligations. So I wrote that as, not here, but anyway, it's a lose-lose situation. It's a lose-lose situation. What happened to us is that we are now having a very demanding career, but we are also having a very demanding motherhood, very demanding wives, very demanding everything, and we are crashing sometimes. So, how do we fix the pipeline? I want to speak about two very, very short programs that I'm doing. One of those is Wings. What happened to me, I wanted everyone will experience. I'm working with schools, in attention with schools, because I wanted it to be part of the curriculum. I wanted girls will understand that STEM, that science, is not just one boring, teacher speaking and making us all die from bored. I want them to experience the fact that they can become a pilot. I want them to try. And so I brought this very amazing program. And in this program, the girls are studying aviation, they are studying physics, they are studying all kind of leadership, and about, they are introduced to role models. But most important that we have, at the end of the course, we are taking them to try a real glider, as I did, and to hold a stick, as I did. And they are only 13, 14 age of old. That will repair the very shameful rate of 1% to, from 1% to 50%, which I want. I want 50% of the girls in the military or in the civilians or commercial piloting will be girls. The pilot will be girls. I don't want that to be a subject that will be controlled only by men, not because, only because the girls are very good in pilot, they just don't know that. Something very important, one of the girls, we have a simulator, and I'm coming to the school, it's very important to me to be there with them, and she said, it was such a fun lesson today. And just to hear that, girls having fun from school, that was so fantastic, because especially now in COVID, and that was in COVID, by the way. In COVID, they were so frustrated and isolated. Okay, second program is the Science Accelerator. So out of the box already reached 8 countries, and because I'm very much oriented in the international market, I thought that if we want to make the gap, to narrow the gap between school and the working market, we have to go global, and we have to teach our young generation how to work in a global market. And global market is to meet students and teachers from other countries. So our students learn together with Americans, together with Italians, together with Turkish and Emirates, probably next year, and more. And they are learning how to work in groups, and they are learning how to work in mixed groups, and they are learning how to cope with language barriers and cultural barriers and all kinds of things that those are the very important skills that they need for the future. But most important, do you remember the rate of how many percentage of women in space we have? 20, 22, women in STEM, 30? We have 50% girls representation. And it's not just the girls, it's the leading role that they are having. Now, this program is mixed between boys and girls. What we need to do in order to make the change that we want to do is to teach the girls how to work with the boys and the boys how to work with the girls. Because if we want to make a change, we have to understand that the change will not be just ours as women. We have to recruit the men also with us. And we have to give every couple, if it's a boy and girl, the ability to choose what they really want. If I'm a boy, I will not have the burden in being the provider of my family. Maybe the wife will do that. So now this is not a very common conversation that happens in the houses. Okay, one last thing, because Avital wants to, she already did that. Women must be in space and equal presented to any decision-making table, and to have access to space resources and make sure that we will not repeat past mistakes. What do I mean by that? Okay, so the Emirates, I mean, that's a wonderful example. They have 80% of women, working in the space industry. So this is a dream come true. But what is important to me is that we know that the men out there in space, let's imagine that NASA will build what NASA and other space agencies will build, what they are planning now, which is to make a gateway on the moon that will take us to the Mars. If the women are not there, physically there, they will never understand what it means to be in space. They will never be in the group of decision making, and that's very, very important. Let's imagine that we will send a group of astronauts to Mars, and we will not have an equal female over there. What will happen is that we will write history all over again. The men will be the one that will write the history books. The men will be the one that will draft the map of Mars. The men will be the one that will design governments and everything, and education. They will take what they want, not because they don't think about us, it's because they think about themselves. They are there, the women are minority, and they do take decisions that really right for them. We have to physically be there. We have to physically be the space entrepreneurs that has the money to be there, because today space being more or less also controlled by billionaires. I asked Tali, how many women do you know that has $50 million to buy themselves a ticket to the ISS, International Space Station? And the answer is a few, very few, little few. I don't want that to happen. I want that the next generation and this current generation will be rich. They will have the liberty to decide what they want to do, where they want to go, and also they will be around the decision-making table.